Hey guys, welcome back to our channel Fly Me to the Philippines, and today we're gonna have another Expat Diary.
Chrissy, today it's Expat Diaries number 5. We have a story. Special Agent Jack Boyer works for the federal government. We can't reveal what he does, but I've met him personally. He has an amazing, crazy, interesting job. And he travels all over the world. And he met a Filipina in Cebu City. She brought him a cup of cappuccino. She was a waitress, mid-20s. There was a foam heart 8.5 years ago. He thought she was flirting with him.
And he didn't know that.
He didn't know everybody got the heart. He tells a story about meeting a Filipina and bringing her back to America. Can you imagine bringing a mid-20 Filipina back to the United States?
We'll see how the story ended. Here we go.
Chrissy, we've told stories of the 18-year-old virgin. We've told stories about the Spider-Man. We've told stories about a woman who said she was 29 and turned out to be
15.
16, 17. So today, we've got something really special for you.
So he's in a job that is very confidential, but yet he wanted to share his story.
Right. He saw that we were sharing these stories, and he penned a rather interesting story in his own voice. We're going to talk about it the way we normally do, where we paraphrase the story, but we're going to intersperse his own text. You'll see the text on screen. I'll read as Jack so you can hear the story. You'll hear how it worked out. What do you think, Chrissy?
Yeah, as you listen to the story, you can comment down below what you think how the story will end.
Stick around. We're going to give you a little 3 to 5 minute update on what's going on in our lives. Here we go. The story of Jack Bauer, special agent for the
Jack
U.S.
Boyer.
Not Jack Bauer. He's the guy from 24. We're going to give you the story of Jack Boyer.
I was a shy 52-year-old federal government employee, going through a divorce and separated after a 26-year marriage to a Korean girl I married while in the military stationed in Korea. My Filipina was a beautiful 24-year-old, never married, no kids, and 6 months out of a 2-year LDR. In parentheses, he cheated. I met my Filipina while on a business trip to the Philippines. She was my waitress in the restaurant at a 5-star hotel in Cebu. I was the first person in the restaurant for breakfast and ordered a cappuccino. When she brought my cappuccino, it had a heart in the foam. I've never been good with women, and after being out of the dating game for 26 years, I naively thought she was flirting with me, which gave me the courage to try and flirt with her. I asked her about places to go and things to do in Cebu and got her WhatsApp number.
So his idea, this was his bright idea, he was headed to Malapascua for Scuba, which is really a really great scuba spot off northern Cebu. And he said, gee, did she know anybody who could show him around Malapascua?
That's his way of flirting.
Yeah, you're like, hey, where could I find someone to show me around? I'm in town. I got a few days off, and she's like, well, go to IT Park. You'll find an English-speaking
So she
girl
pushed
there.
him into the IT Park.
She said, yeah. So three times he asked her out, and she turned him down.
Really?
And let's just hear a little bit of that in his voice.
I had decided to go shark diving in Malapascua, an island just off the northern tip of Cebu. One Neanderthal attempt of inviting her to accompany me to this resort island was by telling her about my planned trip and asking her if she knew where I might find someone willing to go along with me as a personal tour guide. She quickly told me I could probably find a call center girl at IT Park that would be willing to go with me. Swing and a miss. Over the next 3 days, I asked her out 3 times. All 3 times, I was politely shot down. So I gave up, and after my 3-day business trip was over, I went to Malapascua to go scuba diving with the thresher sharks. Amazing adventure. I highly recommend. While on the island, I balanced my camera on the rocks and took a selfie of standing on the beach and sent it to Gladys. She immediately responded, "Who took that picture?"
He ended up going to Malapascua by himself, and he took a photo, and he texted her the photo, and she said, "Who took the photo?"
I think that's not the tone. Maybe.
Well, no, but she said, well, she wanted
like,
immediately. So
maybe she was like, hey, by the way, who took the photo?
Right. Well, anyway, he
because
said,
they're not on yet.
That told me she was interested in me. So I came back to Cebu and asked her out again. It was my last night in the Philippines and she was working, but she agreed to come see me after she got off work nearly at midnight at my hotel. We spent a great evening talking and getting to know each other. Then I flew home the following day back to Washington, D.C. We chatted over WhatsApp for approximately 45 days. We talked a lot about what we were looking for in a relationship, how we handled relationship stress, what we thought made the best relationships, etc. As a side note, partially because I am in the cybercrime profession, I also told her during our relationship that no matter if I asked later, never ever send pictures to me, even if later in a weakened moment I asked her to. I explained that anything on a phone or the internet could be hacked, and it was never good to even have a named picture of yourself on your own phone, because many girls have been hacked and blackmailed. We both agreed that we liked each other, so I planned a vacation trip back to see her for the week of August 15th.
You know, if you come and you try to meet a girl boots on the ground, you really want to meet a girl with a job. You don't want to find somebody unemployed lying around doing nothing. Good luck finding time to date. He had a solution. Let's hear what he has to say.
Because she worked full-time at the hotel restaurant and only got 1 day off a week, I asked her supervisor's name and wrote her a letter. I emailed the letter to Gladys and asked her to print it, put it in an envelope along with 10,000 pesos and give it to her supervisor, saying it was from her boyfriend and she didn't know what was inside or what it was about. I sent her the 10,000 pesos for the letter via Remitly, which Gladys picked up at the SM Mall. In the letter, I introduced myself and told her how much I liked Gladys and was coming to the Philippines to court her and see if she was the one. I asked the supervisor if she would consider accompanying us on our first dinner date and explained that because I wanted to spend as much time with Gladys as possible, I asked if it was possible for the supervisor to allow Gladys time off while I was there, and I offered to pay the salary of Gladys' replacement, waitress. Okay, I was essentially offering 10,000 pesos to the supervisor to let Gladys have time off when I arrived. I told the supervisor that Gladys did not know anything about the money in the envelope, and if she could not allow Gladys the time off, she could just seal the envelope and give it back to Gladys, and I would get it when I arrived and just make the best of the time we had together after work. It worked, and as far as the supervisor knew, the money was our little secret.
What do you think of that, Chrissy?
Well, I think he made a good move there, but he's just so lucky as well that the manager allowed him to bribe them.
Maybe they teach this in special agent school, how to do a bribe.
Or maybe the manager also understood their situation and wanted to help them together.
Yeah. So they started to date, and he made multiple trips back and forth to the Philippines. They did a lot of chatting. Let's hear what he has to say.
We initially stayed at the Raddison Blue in Cebu, next to the SM Mall. It has a huge pool, and I invited her whole family over for lunch and a day at the pool at the hotel. I got to meet her mom, the 6 nieces and nephews, one, what turned out to be my favorite of her 3 sisters, a school teacher, and her sister's husband. It was a wonderful day. We went on a few date nights, then went to Malapascua for a romantic stay in a bungalow on the beach. I broke all the rules by giving her a small necklace and bringing with me an old used iPhone 7 Plus and new Apple AirPods, so we could FaceTime and iMessage instead of WhatsApp. The whole trip was perfect. We did date nights almost every night and continued to have deep discussions about life, family, how each of us manifest our anger, what arguments were like in our previous relationships, what we valued the most in a relationship, etc. It all seemed too good to be true, and it was really hard to leave at the end of the week.
Well, I would say that Jack is also a very romantic guy. You know, it's very rare for a guy to be that romantic, actually. And then Filipina will really appreciate that kind of moves, because, when he did the birthday surprise visit
Another
with
10,000
her,
pesos to the supervisor. We worked once.
Yes, and then, so that was really a good move. And also the second one, when he surprised her also and proposed to her in the same restaurant.
With her family.
With her family, without her knowing. And so that is very romantic. And,
very romantic.
Her 25th birthday was November 26th, and I made a surprise visit to Cebu November 23rd to surprise her for her birthday. I coordinated my surprise with Gladys' supervisor so that the supervisor would keep her late at work, so I had time to get to the hotel she worked at before she went home for the night. I coordinated another envelope and another 10,000 pesos to be given to her supervisor to assist in scheduling most of Gladys' days off to coincide with my visit. The surprise visit went off with military precision, and I walked in while Gladys and her co-workers were wrapping silverware for the next day. I even have a video of my entrance and surprise. I stayed another week with Gladys in Cebu. We continued our courting LDR over the next 3 years, with me visiting the Philippines another 10 or more times, mostly on business trips where she could join me, often in Cebu, Manila, Davao, and once in Singapore. 7 months after starting our relationship, I proposed to her at the same hotel we met at and she still worked at. Throughout our LDR, we never missed a day of FaceTiming, usually twice a day, morning and evening. We even did LDR date nights where she would dress up and go to a restaurant for dinner, and because DC is 12 hours time difference, I would go to a restaurant for breakfast, and we would have an LDR FaceTime date.
When it came to money, this is really interesting. Gladys never asked for money, but Jack created a set of rules, like a frame, and he had a savings arrangement with Gladys, and it comes and plays with how they executed the wedding. We're going to read Jack's story here.
Throughout the relationship, Gladys never asked for money even once, and with the one exception I will explain. I never gave her money. Gladys kept her job the whole time we were dating, all the way until about 5 months before she flew to the United States on the K-1 visa. Like probably all Filipinas, Gladys gave half of her salary to her parents. We had a couple of conversations about reducing that amount and the concept of saving for the future, but reducing the amount she gave her parents was something she simply couldn't do. She felt it was her obligation. After we were engaged, we talked about the concepts of saving for the future, emergency funds, etc. I made an agreement with her that I would fund her opening a passbook, what they call a savings account. I would give the required 10,000 pesos to open the account, but she was never allowed to withdraw any money from the account without our joint agreement. Additionally, I told her that each paycheck, her goal was to put 10% of her paycheck in the passbook account. I told her that each time she put any money in the passbook, I would match her contribution peso for peso. She would send me a photo of her passbook showing her contribution and balance, then I would transfer money into it via Remitly. Because she also got tips from being a waitress, some months I would challenge her to put a much larger amount into her passbook. If she did this for a particular month, I would double or even triple whatever amount she put into the passbook. We decided that the passbook money would be our wedding fund. Although we would marry in the U.S., we would return to the Philippines and do a more traditional wedding and would spend that fund on the wedding. She never took a single peso out of her passbook. Shocking wedding fund news. After coming to the United States, getting married, and starting to plan our return to the Philippines for our Philippine wedding, while discussing wedding plans, Gladys said, "It seems like a lot of money to spend on one day. Music to any guy's ears." She said she had talked to many of her friends who had weddings and how much stress there was during the planning and the actual wedding day. And she said it did not seem right to spend so much money for one day that was all about her. I think part of this thought process was that she saw the passbook money as the results of years of her saving. And when it's your money, your spending, the cost-benefit analysis is a little different.
Chrissy, what do you think about giving up your wedding and taking your entire family on vacation, 17 people instead?
I think she's like being practical.
Do you think if you had saved your own money for 3 years, you might come up with that strategy instead of throwing it all like just boom, one day, just having a wedding?
I think I would rather, if it's that big enough, I would rather build a house in the Philippines than just putting it into a wedding that will be just gone in one day.
We're going to have to make that decision coming up pretty soon. Was really practical with his money, and how he helped family members if there was an emergency. But with the nieces and nephews, he created a savings plan, an education reward system, kind of creative. But let's hear what Jack has to say about how he handles Tampo, what his thoughts are about it.
Trust, the dreaded Tampo, and protecting the Filipino heart. I learned, or at least in my assessment, Filipinas have the most delicate heart in the world. They generally have more empathy and feel things so much deeper than the typical Westerner. Giving a short or one-word answer to a Filipina will often wound their heart. As Western men, we can often be blunt or fully logical about things and give short answers without realizing how delicate a Filipina's heart is. This happened a couple of times early in our relationship. I think the secret solution was that as soon as I started experiencing Tampo, I sat Gladys down, told her it was important that we look at each other in the eyes while discussing the problem, and letting her know that my intention was never to hurt her. I needed her to teach me the things to do to make her feel loved and safe. We also discussed why Tampo was never a positive approach to a problem. I explained the concept of a pot of water boiling over. Every time someone hurts your feelings, it's like turning the eye of the stove burner up one notch. Each notch is no big deal, but over time, a little thing will be the final notch that makes the water boil over. Each time you sit down and lovingly discuss when one of you hurt the other's feelings, it is like turning the burner switch completely off so that further interactions remain little and the water never gets really hot.
Well, Chrissy, I think he's got a really solid approach, and it's worked for him. Now, he talks about
jealousy.
He talks about the jealousy and how Filipinos are so sensitive.
Let's say we're so soft.
Soft, maybe, but it's so true. Like I would agree with everything he says. Let's hear what he has to say.
When we were in our LDR, we shared our location data with each other on our iPhones. At any time, she could see where I was and initially often monitored or looked. Once engaged, we also shared our iPhone passcode with each other, so at any time either of us could unlock and look at the other's phone. As a married couple, this continues. The two reasons for me doing this was the insecurity that most Filipinos have. Shockingly, they do not realize that they are the most beautiful women in the world, even after winning Miss Universe more times than any other country. Filipinas are often insecure about their skin color, their noses, and just overall body appearance. That, combined with some Filipinas being predatory about trying to steal another Filipina's man so they can have a better life. Filipinas often worry about their man being tempted by others. This insecurity manifests itself in supreme jealousy, and that jealousy often can cause stress in the relationship that can lead to distancing, which can lead to the man being even more vulnerable to temptation. I think it is both people's responsibility to actively try to make each other feel secure and safe in the relationship. The unfettered access to each other's phone is one of many steps that can help. Caution, this has caused other couples to have a big fight when another Filipina saw my wife unlock my phone and found we share access codes. A big argument ensued when the other Filipina told her man they thought he should surrender his access code also. Additionally, this sharing of codes also helped me a little by giving me an added level of accountability, which helped me resist ever chatting with other women. We even had discussions about how she felt insecure when my job requires me to interact with other Filipinas and other things I could do to lessen her insecurities when I had to have those interactions. We often calmly discussed how I would feel if the roles were reversed. Tampo. While it may not work for everyone, here is how I dealt with Tampo initially in our relationship. At the first sign of Tampo, I don't ask if everything is okay because we all know they will not tell us. I go to her, give her a loving hug, hold it for 5 to 7 seconds, then take her hands and gently try to guide her to sit down with me. I look her in the eyes and I say that I feel like I have hurt your feelings, but I'm not sure why. I tell her she is the most important thing to me and never do I want to intentionally hurt her feelings, and ask her if she can tell me what I may have done or said that made her withdraw from her normally happy and loving self. It may be that I just found a unicorn, but I can't remember her last Tampo. In the 7-year relationship, 3.5 years living in the United States, she has not changed a single bit. She is still sweet, humble, loving, empathetic, and gentle as the day I met her. I'm proud to say that I never paid any stipend to her family, and her family never asked for a single peso. We discussed in the first month of the relationship why I could never accept monthly payments to the family, but would be there for emergencies. Perhaps it is hope for others that Filipinas are the most amazing, loving, empathetic, caring, and gentle women in the world. And through good, intentional communication, you can find love like you never imagined, and even bringing your Filipina to the United States will not change them for the worst.
Chrissy, what do you think? Did he hit the nail on the head?
Yeah, it's very true. I cannot agree more. You have the same approach.
We have the same. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, because I think his approach is spot on, and I think everybody watching. You know, when I was back in America, thinking, you know, I had this twinkle in my eye. Maybe I could pull this off. Maybe I could come to the Philippines, meet a unicorn like you, and you know, in my wildest dreams, I didn't think I would meet somebody exactly like you. And but I had a lot of time watching YouTube, and it just never occurred to me that Filipinas were like the world's most sensitive creatures, and they were so jealous, and they needed a little bit of a light touch in terms to just kind of like merge into their thought process, you know, because the flip side of this old school girlfriend experience, the, you know, the positive clinginess, the wanting to stay home, the, you know, being happy with a coffee instead of a 5-star dinner. The flip side of it is they're so sensitive and they really want time together. And I think Jack really described how his experience has been. It's been really similar to mine.
I really like his explanation. It's brief, but it's very insightful, and I can really, like, even myself cannot explain that well why we have this jealousy and tampo, but he did. Like, I understood more why we have this, and why not just us Filipinas, but I think there's a lot of women around the world that have this jealousy and tampo. And he explained it in a very not biased way.
You know, I've met a lot of people since we've been doing this. I really like the guy. He's really a solid citizen, and I really thank him for sharing the story. You can bring a mid-20s Filipina to the United States, apparently, and be happily married, even though your job takes you all over the world and you have to deal in top secret stuff, and sometimes you can't be reached, and sometimes you can't text back, and you're having to do business with executive women that'll make Filipinas go crazy jealous. He is happily married, and he's shouting from the rooftops that he doesn't want you guys to buy all the negative stories and all the scamming and all the girls that come to America or Canada or Europe and quickly meet up with the wrong crowd and things go bad. We didn't mention Jack was 52 when he met Gladys. I think she was 25 or 24.
They have 28 years age gap.
28-year age gap. He's 60 now, and so she's 32. And they're living their best life. And if you are thinking that you are not in a position to move to the Philippines, you are wanting to bring a Filipina back to the United States, you want to do the K-1, you want to integrate her into your country, take heart. Here is a positive story of success. Now, we're going to give you what we promised, a life update. So, Chrissy, CJ is going to private school about 3.5 kilometers north of us.
Yes.
And there's several really good private schools here in Cagayan de Oro. And the tuition was 59,000 pesos, really like $1,000 US. The school supplies ran around 5,000-6,000 pesos. The backpack, the shoes, that ran around 3,000 pesos. But we could have bought it at the thrift store, but we splurged. All in, without transportation, maybe 65,000 pesos, which is like $1,100 or less.
How's your wallet?
It's okay. It's compared to prices in the West, it's like 10%. I mean, I can't even, a private school, kindergarten in the West would probably be 12. I mean, just daycare could be 20,000 a year for one kid.
And yesterday we went to some parents' orientation in school, and I'm so glad that you went with me.
Yeah, I'm
You know,
reliving.
you were very
It was so
supportive.
interesting to be in a kindergarten parents meeting.
Again.
Yeah, because I got
For
6
you.
grandchildren, and
Yeah.
some of them have already been to kindergarten. So, and then CJ has been here now 6 weeks, and he was lean, had like a gecko stomach when he got here, but he wasn't eating a lot of protein before he got here. Now we've been fattening him up. He eats a lot of protein. You could see it in his face. You could see how healthy he looks.
Look like a young adult
He's
now.
starting to look like a young adult, and his English is really coming along. The school is all English. They do teach Filipino 1 class a day because they have to
Yeah.
learn Tagalog, right?
Yeah, they have to learn Filipino.
And your father with his significant other, because there's no divorce here in the Philippines, but they've been together 8 years. She's 26, he's 52. It is like having a valet. I got to go to the gym to get any work. I don't lift a finger around the house. I told a few friends this. I golf Thursday morning. I leave the house at 5:15. He wakes up at 4 a.m., makes my coffee, gets my golf bag by the front door. My shoes are clean. There's a fresh pair of socks.
All the time.
And usually he's out sweeping the front of the house for an hour at 6 a.m. But like, it's like having a valet if I was a Navy admiral or in the White House. It's the craziest thing. And Liza is doing the laundry and cleaning, and Chrissy's got lots of time. That's why we started to do shorts on TikTok and our Facebook page and our website, robchrisy.com. And we're going to say goodbye, but before we do, if you didn't get the PDF with the 5 essentials, you can email us at flymetothephilippines@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to make sure you hear about our next video. Till next time, Chrissy.
Only here from Fly Me to the Philippines. See you on our next story.